Starting off with where I said we would in the last video, I'm making a page dedicated to Imogen. I start by just picking a purple colored marker because obviously that's her color, and then getting a sheet of reference images, a couple different angles, shapes, sides, views of the details, and things like that. And I will chop them up and glue them into this page. The first one I start with is a full body, just because you'll see I will start to make a itemized list of the things that she wears, the accessories, the larger pieces of the costume, just to help give me a visual of where I'm starting, where I'm going to go, what are things I already have. And this actually doubles as a tool later down the road. If I were to go to a convention, I would be able to take this list and just, go down and be able to check like, yep, I packed that, I packed that, I packed that. And it's just a really nice tool. Probably not for everybody, but for me, visually, I just like to have this. Plan-wise, it's really nice because it kind of starts to stir some of the ideas of like, okay, well, am I going to buy this? Am I going to make this? Do I already own that? And it's just really nice. And you'll see when I get to the bottom of the list, I already checked something off because I, in fact, do already own it. So it's nice to have it listed so that I can see it. And then eventually it just becomes a little art project because I like to color code the page and I add the reference images in later, just so like, again, it's just a quick resource that I can pull to be like, hey, what was the shape of the glove? What was the color of her boots? Or if I'm sourcing fabric, it'll be like, oh, that's a really nice match. And I don't have to like fumble with a bunch of loose images. It's all in one space. I don't have to rely on my phone screen. It's just right in front of my face. It's really nice. I love making these. It just streamlines everything and keeps me organized. It's optional, obviously, but it's just a really nice way to start the project off. Using that list, I realized there were a couple of things I could get started on based on some of the supplies I already had on hand. Because again, I want to make as much of this as I can with things I already own. And as much as I could go out and get some faux leather and make this belt, I had some foam laying around. And I've always heard that you can make really cool looking belts and things with foam. So I thought, hey, why not? I've got enough foam on a little leftover roll from a past project. I believe it is 5mm, but I could be wrong. But here I'm just looking at the source images and just kind of guesstimating what size, especially for my body. I measured a couple of times around my waist and my arms just to kind of get an idea of how this belt would fit on me. Then I take those little pattern pieces and I mark them on the foam and I go ahead and cut those out. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Later I will add some detailing with, there's a technique you can use with foil to get a more leather-like look. And then I'll have to shape them, glue them, and paint them, but that will come later. The next item I realized I had all the materials for was the vest. And I have a bunch of white fabric and was surprisingly gifted this pattern from my grandmother who didn't need it anymore. She taught me how to sew and she always passes things down to me and it was perfect timing. I'm going to use this more so as a guide, not only because it was cut at a 12, which I fall in between commercial sizes a lot. So if you see any like extra length or a little, like I have a gap on the fold here just to give myself like a few inches just in case I need to alter it or take it in. And I will further alter it because I noticed on the reference images the shoulder area looks a bit slimmer than this style of vest. So you'll see me take a ruler to that and just kind of guesstimate where I think it might be. After sewing it together, I do go in and take it in a couple of times, but I didn't record any of that just because I was trying it on and off while I was sewing it to make sure that everything would lay right and shape the right way. To my delight, I found 5 matching buttons in my stock of buttons. And I sewed those on, but I didn't record it because I was watching the new episode of Yellow Jackets when I did it. So I hope that's okay. But after a bunch of these seams, you will see the finished product. The next item on my list that I realized I had all the supplies for were her shorts. As you can see, I've got this fabric. It's not the same as the fabric for the vest. It's more of an off-white, slightly tan color. And this pattern I totally just made years ago just for some simple high-waisted shorts. I will be altering them similar to like how I did the vest, where this was made originally with like a fold-over waistband where you just thread the elastic through. And I don't think I ended up recording it, but I went through and made a waistband of my own, and then I sewed that on as well. I believe I also missed recording adding the zipper because that was along with the waistband as well. But shorts are pretty easy, even easier than a vest. They're just 4 seams, so this didn't take very long. And eventually, after these seams, you will see the final product as well. While I was looking for the fabric for my shirt and my vest, I magically found this little chunk of spare fabric. It's not gold, it's not yellow, it's not orange, I don't really know what to call it, but when I referenced it to the images that I have, it looked like the same color. So here I'm just eyeballing the shape. I think I made it about 3 inches and then made this angle on the end to give it that like tie look. And made sure that when I was putting it together, I just sewed the top and the angle and then the bottom and flipped it inside out, and eventually it made a little necktie. Having gotten a lot further than I thought I would be at this point, I thought a good wrap up to this would be to go over my checklist and cross some things off, which is super exciting. A lot more checked off than I thought I would get to. I do check off the harness, even though I know I mentioned before I need to paint it and glue it and all of that fun stuff, but for now I will check it off just because I know I have built it at least up to this point, along with just brainstorming how I think I will tackle the rest of these items. I know I have plans to visit some resale stores and thrift shops in the area to maybe locate some of the fabrics that I'm looking for, some of the accessories. But yeah, slowly and surely she is coming along, and I can't wait to see where we end up.